his revelation.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. It is Tuesday, June 9th. Thanks for joining me today. I have a little bit of housekeeping. Unfortunately, there won't be any episodes till Tuesday. I've been called out of town. I won't be doing the live stream until next Tuesday. There might very well be an episode of Tuesdays with Perry this evening, so stay tuned for that. Welcome to the broadcast today. Top of the news today, Spencer Pratt was cheated out of the LA mayoral race. Big fucking surprise. We saw Scott Baio, the famous child actor who was on Jesse Waters a couple weeks ago, saying the very thing out loud, that we will definitely not see a Republican in major office in California, whether it be LA, and Steve Hilton did win, did qualify for the runoff in November, but Spencer Pratt, who was getting a lot of traction and was ahead way early, was outdone by the other Democrat contender, Ramen Noodles, who for some reason, why would people who support Democrats vote for two Democrats instead of a Democrat and a Republican, at least give the Republican a shot in the general election? So without further ado, I've got 30 headlines to get through, 30 or so headlines to get through today, which is going to be a little bit of a truncated episode. And I hate to have a truncated episode and then duck out early. Might have an episode of Tuesdays with Perry tonight, so we'll see about that. But again, I've been called out of town. Won't be back till Tuesday. All right, let's read the news. We're gonna start with it's one of those days today. We're gonna start with the New York Post. Spencer Pratt loses LA mayor's race to Nithya Raman Spencer Pratt loses LA mayor's race as Nithya Raman surges through to runoff after massive dump of ballots. Massive dump of ballots. So it doesn't make any sense. And the reasoning being is that you have Karen Bass and Nithya Raman, who is a little bit of an upstart. She's like the same platform as Karen Bass, but she's younger and she's not Karen Bass. And she didn't let the city burn down from a wildfire. But what we see constantly in these rigged races is, and this is the problem with populist candidates, they can't determine how many votes they're going to get. So they actually have to wait till the Republican gets all their votes, and then how many votes do we need? And they just ship in the ballots. And particularly in this race, where the third place candidate is able to surge all the way up into second place, pushing the Republican out of the general election. Just fucking amazing. So again, this is a weird thing. As soon as I started the live stream today, right outside my window, somebody with a leaf blower, and it's not my neighbor. I don't know who it is. Very, very strange. So I don't know if you heard that. Maybe you didn't. But crazy, right at 10 o'clock, I got a leaf blower right outside. I know you don't. Still, it's just one of those days. All right, let's move on. Spencer Pratt has been dumped out of the Los Angeles mayoral election as another huge surge in ballots went almost exclusively to Nithya Raman. Raman, a far-left councilwoman, will face Karen Bass in the runoff in November after the incumbent was confirmed a place last week. Monday's count added another 33,000 to Rama's total overnight, while Pratt only gained 14,000 and Bass added a further 25,000. So Bass did add more, but where are all these ballots coming from? Raman now sits at 28.5 of the vote, with Pratt 26.7 and Bass 34.7, with 93% of the votes counted across the region. Okay, so here's my issue. Nobody gives a shit about fucking primaries. Nobody. Only party people give a shit about primaries. Now, you could say that Trump had a huge protest vote against him. Okay, you could go for that, right? Or another hated Republican. But Spencer Pratt was a relative unknown. And I don't know why people just hated him. But the way the vote went, you mean to say that in LA, right, only 1/4 of the population wanted a Republican to even be in the race in November, the general. This is the idea of ranked choice voting, again, is a scam. There's a reason the United States is a two-party system, and that reason is because they are opposing ideologies, particularly along the economic side. One party wants to spend money, the other party wants to save money, at least ideally. I mean, there are people that call themselves the conservatives that aren't conservative. But that's the reason for it. So if all of a sudden you're like, whoa, 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 we have to stop the spending, you want to vote in a party that's part of their platform. It's not like, voting in two liberals, who's going to spend more? It's a race to spend more for the bottom. Meanwhile, you're overtaxing people, they're fleeing the state, etc. It's just California's a mess. But they're still pushing the socialism. It's got to come into place before 2030. It's got to be in there before they unleash AI to rule us all, relatively, because the bureaucracy that's in charge of socialism is going to be run by computer. What could go wrong there? PJ Media had the headline, how the left is gaslighting the public about the LA mayoral election. I'd love to get into that article. It's behind the paywall, but what you want to say here is Kristen Welker, when she was interviewing Trump, said it perfectly. That's how California elections work. And they work the way the Democrats want them to work. The fact that it's free and fair and all this stuff, all these things that they employ were never generally understood as being safe in terms of election integrity. Ballot harvesting, ballot curing, mail-out ballots, mail-in ballots, right? Ranked choice voting. And of course, designing districts on the basis of race, particularly black race. Those things do not contribute to election integrity. And the point is why would you provide an opportunity for fraud if fraud wasn't your aim? That is the aim. So whatever the media is trying to tell you, or the left is trying to tell you about, oh, it's just for the little black grandmas who don't have a driver's license and, they don't have a car, they can't get to the polling station, they can't participate the way normal people do in a democracy. Because early on, the Democrats used to drive around and pick up people in vans. and take them to the polling place. And they're not supposed to tell them how to vote, but they often do. They would have a little nice talk in the van on the way to the polling place. NBC News, Nithya Raman advances over Spencer Pratt to face LA Mayor Karen Bass in runoff. NBC News projected Bass, the Democratic incumbent, and Raman, the city council member, will face off in November after they received the most votes in the all-party first round election. You see, because it's not a fucking primary, it's a first round. Why is it a first round? Because it's ranked choice voting. And ranked choice voting is not fair to the opposition party, the reform candidate. One America News, article number 4, New Jersey GOP tip of the iceberg as hundreds of non-citizens registered to vote in New Jersey. Did we even talk about the California voter rolls? Right? It's against the law in California for you to ask for identification verification. New Jersey Republican Party task force, which was launched about a month ago and is working with the Republican National Committee, uncovered hundreds of non-citizens registered to vote in the state, announced to end New Jersey GOP chairwoman Christine Gerardo-Hanlon. We have just begun our analysis and already have uncovered significant breaches. We believe these findings are just the tip of the iceberg. And I reported on this yesterday. The majority of them were self-reported, which were illegal or aliens who were seeking naturalization, who had been registered, not to their knowledge, beyond their knowledge, was registered without their knowledge to vote, and the records of them voting. And in some cases they said, well, I never voted. How is there a record of me voting? Individuals who may be legally present in the United States but not eligible to vote may nevertheless become registered through the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Integrated System because of insufficient citizen verification safeguards. Of course they're not. Without these disclosures, election officials may never have detected these individuals on the voter rolls, highlighting other major gap in our existing system. Obtained data did reflect the hundreds of non-citizens requested removal from voter rolls after self-reporting to New Jersey voter registration offices during the naturalization process. As I reported on yesterday, I'm just reiterating that today, is that the democracy in the United States is rife with fraud, intentional or otherwise. The problem is it's not the aliens that I necessarily blame all the time. It's the Democratic Party and the liberals and the progressives who tell aliens that it's okay to vote, or in some instances register them because it doesn't matter. They could vote in their stead with mail-out ballots. You would never know. And as long as they don't exceed, which they did early in mail-in voting, they started exceeding the number of registered voters with ballots. And it was like, oopsie, you can't do that because that proves the fraud right there. One America News, Judicial Watch sues California aiming for cleanup of inactive voter rolls. Judicial Watch, a conservative activist group that files Freedom of Information Act lawsuits to investigate alleged misconduct by government officials, argues that the Golden State has systematically failed to remove hundreds of thousands of inactive voter registrations from its rolls, exposing the state's automatic mail-in voting system to major integrity risks. According to the legal filing, 873,000 voter registrations have remained inactive through at least 2 federal election cycles, with some of them dating back more than a decade. Of those registrations, 326,000 have remained inactive for at least 3 consecutive federal general elections, while 151,000 have remained inactive for at least 4 consecutive federal general elections. The lawsuit alleges that California is not properly enforcing federal voter roll maintenance requirements under the National Voter Registration Act of 1993. The act requires states to make a reasonable effort to remove ineligible voters, such as those who have died or have moved from the voter rolls. They don't, because it gives them the cushion to flood, like they did with Nithya Raman, ballot dump at the end of a counting cycle, and all of a sudden, look, no surprise, the second Democrat wins. I mean, I'm sure if there were five Democrats there, they'd all win. No Republicans would win. Some unrelated news, New York Post, U.S. F-A-18 fighter jet disables tanker that tried to break through naval blockade at Strait of Hormuz. It was, I should have had the text here. It was an empty oil tanker looking to fill up in Iran. They resisted and refused orders to stop. And so they got their engine room blown up. Also related, Zero Hedge, Apache helicopter down near. Before I get into this next story, I want to say is like most of the oil is going to China. Tankers that are trying to run the blockade are going to China. A lot of them are black or dark fleet tankers, and they're part of the illicit oil trade, which is supported, not Russia so much, mostly China. Okay, Apache helicopter down near Strait of Hormuz in Iran war. First, the crew was rescued. The Iranians say it was shot down, as in the Gulf of Oman, which is outside the Strait of Hormuz. Apache was patrolling regional waters before the downing incident, which is shrouded in mystery. Iranians are saying they know exactly what happened. They shot it down. An attack helicopter destroyed by the IRGC Navy after ignoring warnings and being targeted from fire from one of our speedboats. Maybe. Helicopters are not impervious to small arms fire. Was it a missile? Hard to say. Was it from shore? Was it from the boat itself? Hard to say. Was it a Stinger? A shoulder fired missile? A lot of people believe that the downed American aircraft, when they had the fantastic rescue of those crew members, was downed by a shoulder fired missile. It might very well have been the case here as well. Hard to say until we get more information. But some of those non-regular IRGC Navy boats, those little Mosquito fleet boats, a lot of the guys on there may have Stinger missiles. The Stinger missiles are not that hard. I mean, you put the sight even close to the helicopter, and because of the heat signature, the Stinger missile will follow the heat and then destroy that craft. Zero Hedge futures rise as tech rebound extends while oil drops. Oil dipped after Trump said the framework of a deal within the next 2 days. Though it's unclear what has changed from previous claims over the last 2 months, commodities are reacting to headline risk, with Brent down 2.1% as Israel and Iran halt attacks and Chinese oil imports declined. We're still below $90 a barrel, which is good considering. People are saying, oh, it could go up to 250. It could do a lot of things. It could go up to $250 a barrel. I don't think Trump will let that happen. Associated Press or story number 9, Donald Trump booed by the crowd during the anthem prior to Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Every mainstream media, the leftist media, it's AP or Reuters or whatever, NBC News, all had the same headline: Trump booed, right? Not the Knicks lose, Trump booed. And it was during the national anthem when he was put up on the Jumbotron. So, that was bound to happen. But what wasn't reported in the mainstream media, but is reported by the post-millennial, Patriots chant USA leftists boo Trump as he attends NBA Finals at Madison Square Garden. Protests broke out outside the arena with fans holding signs that read, "Trump must go now," and "Go Knicks, fuck Trump." And the Knicks lost, and what did they do? They blamed Trump. But the point is that there were other chants of USA, and so there were chants for Trump, but also booing against Trump. I don't know. See, I don't understand. This is the problem with Arrested Development. Why people, adult men, don't follow politics, but they're so into sports, right? And then they complain against, and then they're leftists who like sports. Sports are corporations, right? And so you're a political leftist, but you enjoy the corporations that run your sports team. And of course, Trump is always friends with big business, and so he's friends with the owners of the clubs and what have you. You're not friends with the owners of the clubs. I don't care if you have season tickets. I just don't understand. I don't understand. And if you saw what Trump has done against corporations, he has really affected their bottom line, most particularly with tariffs, but also in the pharmaceutical field, steel. You could go everywhere except, I think, maybe the oil barons. But even them, so it's Trump and I'm no friend of corporations. Trump plays it pretty even-handed. He's not a minion of the corporate oligarchy. He's his own man. Just the News, anti-Trump lawyers, nonprofits secretly aided state prosecutions of Trump supporters. Bad news here. Democratic attorneys generally deputize private lawyers. Democratic attorneys general deputized private lawyers from a nonprofit run by former Obama ambassador and anti-Trump activist Norm Eisen to help prosecute supporters of President Donald Trump for organizing alternate electors to challenge the 2020 election results, again, which was fraud. According to tax records and internal memos released under open records laws, the relationship between state and local prosecutors and Eisen State's United Democracy Center raises troubling questions about the independence of judicial decisions and the influence of donor-funded groups on the matters of law and order. It's a fucking conspiracy. Didn't know. Trump isn't part of the conspiracy. He's outside of the conspiracy because he broke with his rich friends or the rich elite circles, right? Even if you're part of that group, if you turn and jeopardize the elite's wants, right? Whether it's pedophilia or money to be made or monopolies or the New World Order agenda, whatever, if you go against that, they'll take you out. Doesn't matter. Article number 12, National Review, Kick messaging app is a predator's paradise. Child safety advocates warn. We've seen this already, but nobody wants to believe it. It's just like Snapchat. Child safety advocates warn the platform is actually a predator's paradise that allows adults to send anonymous sexually explicit messages to young users. Excuse me. Kick was launched in 2010 and quickly gained popularity, specifically among young people, because it allows users to chat without revealing their personal phone numbers or email addresses. Facing scrutiny over lackluster safety guardrails for underage users, Kick recently implemented new measures in an effort to keep minors safe. Why were they not safe? Go to Kick, right? There are plenty of other dating platforms and plenty of other sexting sites and Tinder and Grindr and, whatever. Why did he go to Kick? That's the question. Just the news, Hunter Biden defends laptop letter by ex-Intel officials, which falsely claimed Russian involvement. Hunter Biden recently joined X and has gained hundreds of thousands of followers, using his new perch to defend the infamous October 2020 letter, which was written by dozens of former intelligence officials, which basically baselessly claimed Russian involvement in the emergence of incriminating evidence on his laptop's hard drive. What contributed to the baseless narrative that the Hunter Biden laptop stories were nothing more than a product of Russian disinformation. Not true. Biden's son is using his newfound social media presence to defend the laptop letter, which was written to deflect from Hunter Biden's shady foreign business dealings and to help his father win the presidency, which it did. Laptop didn't magically appear, says one user. Oh, no. Oh, this is Carolyn Levitt, excuse me, on X. It was provided to the FBI, which together with the IRS independently authenticated it and then sat on it. IRS Special Agent Gary Shapley and IRS Special Agent Joseph Ziegler revealed that the FBI verified the authenticity of Hunter Biden's laptop in late 2019. The laptop contained a raft of evidence on Hunter Biden's shady dealings in Ukraine and Joe Biden's apparent knowledge of some of it, of all of it, really. It's just, why would you believe? Why? It's like, look at that LA mayoral race. Why would you believe anything coming from Democrats or the mainstream media? It's on its face fraud. And from the mainstream media, it's on its face lies. So what do? You have NBC's Kristen Welker with the president tell the president that the races in California, particularly the LA mayor's race, fine. Nothing going on there. Perfectly legitimate, the outcome. And you saw the way Trump responded. Are you fucking kidding me? Fox News, from the Hunter Biden laptop to Kamala Harris edits, the long history of 60 Minutes controversies. Years of 60 Minutes scandals predate Scott Pelley's gripes. The Benghazi Report of 2013. Yeah, the guy, Dylan Davies. So, all right, so it's a alliterative name, so it's probably CIA. He gave one version to 60 Minutes and another version to the FBI and the State Department. And we know basically what happened there in Benghazi. It was a setup to ship arms to Islamic militants, that they were supposed to take them. But the CIA refused because of the ambassador who says, what the hell is going on here? And then we have the Hunter Biden laptop. We know what happened there. And Leslie Stahl. Again, having Donald Trump right there talking about something controversial, LA mayor's race or the Hunter Biden laptop. It's Russian disinformation. Yeah, sure it is. 2021 DeSantis pay for play narrative, also false. And then the most famous of all, Kamala Harris edit scandal. So in a promo, they actually spilled the beans and they showed Kamala Harris answering a question with an answer that was edited to make her sound smarter than she was. The actual, her actual answer to the question was another word salad. And so since she was running for president, the CBS thought that they had to help her out a little bit and edit her answer. So it was taken out of context. I even believe that it was an answer from another question that they used to answer a previous question. And you know the way the mainstream media, the way they edit interviews all the time, you can almost tell that there's like a little a beat to the repertoire there, and then all of a sudden there's like a change, and you're like, That seems weird. That's an edit. One America News, Trump renews calls to fire Senate parliamentarian, linking her to gridlock surrounding the Save America Act, without a doubt. I don't know if we're going to get rid of the parliamentarian, though. Fox News article number 16, Trump's Save America Act shows signs of life in the Senate despite Republican revolt. A late-night Senate vote breathed new life into Trump's Save America Act despite being blocked by a filibuster. So basically, they tried to attach it onto bills during a vote-a-rama. This was done by Lindsey Graham and Mike Lee. But, no surprise, guess who defected? Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, and Tom Tillis. These fuckers have to get out. Out, out, out. Susan Collins can stay because she has to beat Graham Plattner. But Chewbacca should be in Alaska, not Lisa Murkowski. There was a late intervention by Mitch McConnell, who took money, RNC money, away from the Blake Masters Senate candidacy in Arizona, gave it to Lisa Murkowski so she could beat another Republican, because also in Alaska, they have ranked choice voting. And so it was between two Republicans, Lisa Murkowski and Chewbacca, I forget her first name. And Chewbacca could have won. But of course, Mitch McConnell wants to keep his shrinking establishment caucus together. Their defections prevented the bill from getting 50 votes, a prerequisite for success if Republicans were to launch a talking filibuster, which they want to do. That Mitch McConnell doesn't want them to do. Because why Mitch McConnell doesn't want the SAVE Act, doesn't want voter integrity? Because his wife has links to the Chinese Communist Party. Just the news story number 17, dozens of U.S. lawmakers demand privacy reforms as FISA deadline looms. Congressional leaders, dozens of Democrats, significant handful of Republicans are insisting that any reauthorization of FISA Section 702, which expires June 12th, contains protections for Americans' Fourth Amendment rights. Specifically, they want to require warrants for searches for Americans' electronic data. You know anything about FISA? It's Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. So if an American gets caught up in a foreign surveillance, that they too can be surveilled with a secret warrant. And a lot of these warrants, as we saw with Trump, are made under false pretense. But they're secret, so nobody knows. That has to get rid of. Every time that an unwitting America is surveilled, right? If you can prove that somehow he's part of a conspiracy or whatever, okay, I'll let it go. But for me, if an unwitting American is caught up in the foreign surveillance, and they just use the FISA to spy on Americans without a warrant, without a public warrant, they got to get a real warrant. In other words, they have to prove that the American is engaged in some sort of illicit activity, or at least suspect that, or have reasonable suspicion of that, for them to be surveilled. Because that's the fucking Constitution. Fox News Senator Tim Sheehy, soft on crime judges need consequences. The Jail Act delivers. The bill would eliminate judicial immunity from federal and state judges whose leniency leads to violent crimes, new violent crimes. Why do you say that? Because look at what we have here. One America News, California, case suspended against man accused of killing San Diego Trump House owner. So this guy who had a Trump house, which apparently was a nice guy, Kerry Sheeran, an old guy, 70 years old, Army veteran. Thomas Caleb Butler, 32, faces murder and several other felony charges in connection with the attack, which he brutally beat the old man to death. On May 20th, Butler reportedly continuously assaulted Sharon outside his home, even after the guy fell unconscious to the ground. A bystander tried to intervene, but was also injured. Then the guy died. Okay. So this guy, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. He has a history of mental illness and is violent. Okay. Shouldn't be on the fucking streets. Regardless of that. The point is that I understand if someone has mental issues, psychopathy of some sort. That doesn't preclude them from being prosecuted. You can't just suspend the case. He's going to have a psych eval? Okay, he's going to have a psych eval. But he still killed somebody. When you reach a thing of not guilty because of reason of insanity, that means you didn't know what the fuck you were doing. Right? That means you pushed somebody off a roof or in front of a train or something, and you didn't realize the consequences. Right? I think if you repeatedly punch an old man in the face until he's down on the ground and unconscious and keep beating him until he's dead, I think you know the consequences of your actions. Is it murder or is it manslaughter? Well, you don't know. You can't assign that until you know a motive. Well, he's a crazy person. That's the motive. I think it's a hate crime. I think he did it because he had the Trump signs. He was out in front of his house working on his car or something. This guy crept up on him and started beating him. Maybe he was mentally ill, so he might have been a target of mind control. We want you to kill this Trump fan. Believe you me, if the Democrats get in power, we're going to have a real problem with reconciliation. Anybody who ever liked Trump or said anything nice about Trump is going to go to prison. Fox News story number 20, Las Vegas father stunned after school compared son's pro-ICE stickers to burning a cross. Clark County School District faces lawsuit for expelling student who posted pro-ICE messages. Democrats, progressives are all deluded. And so if they shouldn't have a say in anything. They're deluded. ICE is performing legitimate federal law enforcement operations. You might not like it. Tough shit, right? But it's not burning a cross, right? Burning a cross, and they're saying it's that this kid was trying to intimidate his fellow students who may be here illegally. Well, if they're here illegally, they shouldn't be. Because you don't want them to be here illegally, you want them to be here and have their status changed to legal, well, great. But wanting something doesn't make it so. Union Bulletin, Gen Z is more optimistic than boomers, but less attached to America, poll finds. And this is leading up to the country's 250th birthday, and people aren't coming out to celebrate. Nobody knows shit, and they're all deluded. Do you know anything about political philosophy, right? You know about the founding fathers and where their sentiments lied ideologically with certain political philosophers, and most prominently John Locke. That's the point, is issuing God-given freedom to everyone through the government, through law, through a constitution that protects individual sovereignty and political rights, otherwise known as liberties. Yeah, we don't fuck America, man. Does any other country have that? No. And if they even had something close, it's open-ended so they could change it any time, which we saw England, the United Kingdom has descended into a friggin' pit of hell. Progressive hell. CBS News, Trump administration launches largest ever effort to denaturalize U.S. citizens accused of fraud and other crimes. Good. Denaturalize them and deport them. So we don't have to pay for them to sit in prison. And we shouldn't have people that came to this country to rob it. It's not fair. It's not fair. One American News, Minnesota Walsh administration whistleblowers allegedly threatened with military surveillance amid fraud scandal. Yep. There is no limit to the authoritarian nature of criminals. Why? Because they need the authority to circle the wagons around their crimes. And people say, Trump does that? All right, if you could come up with something other than him calling a woman author crazy, you have something more than that? What? Real estate assessment? Is that what you got? What? Stormy Daniels hush money? Is that it? Is that it? That broke 31 laws mysteriously. No, it didn't. They had to cobble together a case with never before seen legal tactic and taking a misdemeanor and trying to balloon it up to a felony. New York Times, of course, this is an opinion. This could be the worst Ebola outbreak in history. Yeah, because they're making it so. Because believe you me, this is going to grow into a pandemic. Maybe not overnight, soon enough. CNBC, food supply not at risk after new Texas screwworm cases. And so I just want to interject here. If you didn't know, Spanish flu did not start in Spain. It started in Middle America at a military base with what seemed to be a virus that came from the livestock. Around the same time, German spies were on a mission to poison livestock around the country. So it seems like the Spanish flu actually originated with an agricultural sabotage program by the launched by the Imperial German government. Look it up. That's how it started. So, food supply not at risk after Texas screwworm cases, but I wanted to also look at this article. AP, 3 scientists were charged in worm smuggling scheme. Lawyers in China say China helped them get the case dismissed. And I couldn't find anything. It just said worms. Worm samples. And I go, was it screwworm? No, it wasn't screwworm, and it was reported in Michigan news source, roundworm. They smuggled roundworms and other biomaterials. Were those ringworms? And the University of Michigan was going to pay this illegal alien spy $41,000 a year to do worm research. Was she doing any research on screwworm? Is this more agricultural sabotage? Don't forget, what were the Chinese caught smuggling in? Wheat blight. Well, that's certainly agricultural sabotage. Oh, Rudy, you're stretching. Am I? I mean, come on, people. You have to read between the lines. No one's going to tell you the truth outright. It's always going to be caked and framed with a facade of some sort of bias or what I learned in journalism is news organizations are trying to tell you something, right? They're trying to convince you of something. They don't just give you the truth. That's supposed to be journalism. They wrap it in some sort of bias. And you really can't, bias is implicit it's an inherent, in media. You got to read through it. But there is truth in there. So you have to pick out the kernels of truth from all the bias, even in conservative media. Zero Hedge, Beijing readies 297 billion data center build out blitz in bid to dominate AI race because they're falling behind. And so their new initiative here is to build these data centers, which the U.S. have constructed. And if you add up all the other countries' AI data centers combined, they don't match the U.S. And so now Beijing readies $1/3 trillion dollar data center build out. And if you know anything in the way the Chinese build, they build so friggin' quick because they don't have to worry about safety or anything like that. There's nothing holding them back, regulation, because they are the government. And so they're going to build out. They don't say exactly how many. Also important news here, Washington Times, Pentagon labels tech giant Alibaba and electric car maker BYD as aiding Chinese military. Without a doubt. So China, the monolith of the state of communist China, is unified, which means anything Chinese companies, Chinese nationals, the Chinese government, the Chinese military, Chinese corporations, anything that the Chinese do is to forward the power of the state and the party, the Chinese Communist Party. So the Pentagon has added several prominent Chinese businesses, including tech giant Alibaba, electric car maker BYD, and search engine Baidu to its list of Chinese military companies, preventing them from getting U.S. defense contracts. Indeed, because they all these things spy on you. The list, updated and published Monday by the Pentagon, now sanctions well-known non-state-owned Chinese companies that are not traditionally considered to be in the defense or security sector. It reflects growing wariness of Beijing's strategy of tapping the strength of non-state businesses for military purposes. Washington Times has just gone off the fucking rails. What companies in China are not 51% owned by the Chinese Communist Party? Are these companies? No. The state doesn't have to own a controlling stake. Come on. Oh, well, officially the state doesn't own 51%, but one of the Politburo members owns 51% of the. Oh, come on. Chinese communism is Chinese communism, Chinese communism, Chinese communism. Well, a Chinese national may not be a communist, but he has to pretend to be unless the state takes repercussions against him and his family. Last story here, Reuters, strongest earthquake in nearly 150 years, hits off Cuba, shakes Mexico and Florida. If you know anything about seismic weapons, right, so the United States has seismic weapons, and I believe they had detonated seismic weapons over the past couple of decades. The reasoning being is to test how effective they are to launch, how effective they are against targeted states, first of all. First test was in Haiti, Port-au-Prince, and it devastated Port-au-Prince. And then they had subsequent ones, and also to see if they can generate tsunamis, which could also be used as a weapon. So I think this earthquake was triggered off the coast of Cuba to target Cuba because they're already in a bad way. And a lot of times you'll see this. We did the same thing with Iran, launching earthquakes in Iran and even Pakistan. I'm not going to digress into the seismic weapons, but they are there. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to engage the channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the podcast. Like I said before, no, I'm not going to have an episode or live stream till Tuesday. I'm sorry about that. I'd like to, but I've been called out of town. And when I get called out of town to work, it's a 24/7 thing. It's not I don't have like time at night to do a live stream or whatever. So I'm sorry about that, but stay tuned for Tuesday. Stay tuned next Tuesday, a week from today. I'll be back. And also, possibly Tuesdays with Perry tonight. We'll have to see, because this was late notice and I have to pack for the next week. And I'll probably be back Monday night, but so I won't have a episode till Tuesday. Sorry about that, folks. Don't forget, otherwise, to join me every Monday through Friday, live streaming at 10 a.m. Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, X. You can also check me out on social media, Getter Minds, Truth Social, Substack. All right, I appreciate you. Peace out.
This is a conspiracy. No, that is a conspiracy.
The new world, the new world order.
You can't handle the truth.